The unknown signal. The void between stars held secrets that Commander Sarah Chen knew better than to ignore. Standing on the bridge of the HSS Dauntless, she watched the anomalous readings flash across the quantum display with growing concern. The signal didn't match any known pattern in their database, which made it either a natural phenomenon or something far more troubling. "What do you make of it, Dr. Reynolds?" she asked, turning to her chief science officer. The tall, lanky man hadn't taken his eyes off his instruments since the signal first appeared 3 hours ago. "It's artificial, Commander. But the energy signature," he paused, adjusting his spectacles. "It's like nothing we've ever encountered. The wavelength suggests technology far beyond our current understanding. But there's something else. Something wrong." The Dauntless had been patrolling the outer rim of human space when they detected the signal. Out here, humanity's presence was thin. Just a handful of research stations and mining colonies scattered across vast distances. It was their job to keep these frontier settlements safe, even if most alien civilizations viewed humans as primitive newcomers to the galactic stage. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Rivera called from her tactical station, "I'm detecting trace elements consistent with weapons discharge, high-energy particles, radiation patterns. Whatever happened out here, it was big." Sarah nodded, her expression grim. The Dauntless wasn't just any warship. It was humanity's latest achievement in space warfare, incorporating both human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology. While other species relied on pure energy weapons and predictable AI-driven combat systems, humanity had maintained their love of projectile weapons and manual control. The result was a hybrid vessel that other species found disconcertingly unpredictable. "Take us in closer, Helm. Full sensor sweep. I want to know what we're dealing with before we commit." The massive ship moved with surprising grace for its size, its hybrid drive system allowing for maneuvers that defied the expectations of conventional space combat. As they approached the source of the signal, the debris field became visible. Twisted metal and crystalline structures floating in the void, some pieces larger than the Dauntless itself. "This was a battle," Sarah said quietly, "and from the look of it, nobody won." Dr. Reynolds' console suddenly erupted with alerts. "Commander, I'm detecting power signatures. Faint, but active. There are survivors out there. Life signs. Unclear. The energy patterns are masking biosignatures, but something is definitely functioning in that wreckage." Sarah had earned her command through a combination of tactical brilliance and an almost supernatural intuition for trouble. Right now, every instinct she had was screaming danger. But humanity hadn't become a spacefaring species by ignoring those in need. "Launch rescue pods," she ordered, "but keep weapons hot and shields at maximum. Something about this feels wrong." As the rescue pods deployed, carrying teams of human engineers and medics, Sarah studied the wreckage more carefully. The design of the destroyed ships wasn't like anything in their database, but there was something haunting about their organic-mechanical hybrid construction. The pieces seemed to pulse with a dim, internal light, as if even in death they remained somehow alive. "Commander," Reynolds' voice had taken on an edge of panic. "The energy readings, they're increasing exponentially." Before Sarah could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive vessel emerged from what appeared to be a fold in reality, its surface rippling like liquid metal. It was easily 5 times the size of the Dauntless, and its design matched the wreckage surrounding them. "Battle stations." Sarah's command cut through the stunned silence on the bridge. "Get our people back now." The massive alien vessel seemed to regard the Dauntless for a moment, like a predator assessing prey. Then, without warning or communication, it attacked. Beams of impossible energy lanced out, striking their shields with devastating force. "Shields at 60%, Rivera reported. "Whatever they're hitting us with, it's partially phasing through our defenses." Sarah's mind raced. Conventional tactics wouldn't work against technology this advanced, but humanity had survived and thrived precisely because they thought unconventionally. "Engineering," divert all power to the Chaos Drive. Helm, plot a collision course. Her crew didn't hesitate. They'd served together long enough to trust their commander's seemingly insane orders. The Chaos Drive was a uniquely human invention, a propulsion system that deliberately created unpredictable quantum fluctuations. Other species considered it dangerous and unstable. They were right. As the Dauntless charged forward, its Chaos Drive spooling up to maximum power, the alien vessel fired again. But the quantum uncertainty field generated by the Chaos Drive caused the energy beams to bend and distort, missing their target. "They're launching fighters," Rivera reported. "Hundreds of them." "Let them come." Sarah's voice was steady. "Activate point defense systems. Show them why human warships don't rely on predictable attack patterns." The space around the Dauntless erupted in a symphony of destruction. While alien vessels typically relied on energy weapons and calculated attack vectors, human ships bristled with railguns, missile launchers, and other projectile weapons. The alien fighters, expecting energy weapons they could easily dodge or shield against, found themselves torn apart by thousands of hypervelocity rounds and smart missiles. "Sir," Reynolds called out, "I've analyzed their energy signature. These ships, they match ancient warnings found in multiple alien archives. They're Voidborn." Sarah had heard the stories. The Voidborn were supposed to be a myth, an ancient species that had vanished eons ago after nearly conquering the galaxy. According to legend, they viewed other species as resources to be harvested, breaking down their bodies and technology to enhance their own capabilities. The myths, it seemed, were real, and humanity's first encounter with them would either end in triumph or tragedy. "All hands," Sarah's voice echoed through the ship. "Prepare for extreme maneuvers. We're about to show these ancient horrors why humanity is the most adaptable species in the galaxy." The Dauntless shot forward, its Chaos Drive creating a wake of quantum distortions that confused both sensors and organic eyes. The massive Voidborn vessel tried to adjust, but human unpredictability proved superior to ancient technology. As they closed the distance, Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The galaxy was about to learn why human warships were truly feared, not because of their technology or their weapons, but because of the indomitable spirit of their crews. The battle that would follow would become legend, marking humanity's entry onto the galactic stage not as primitives to be dismissed, but as warriors to be respected and feared. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of when pushed to their limits. First contact gone wrong. The Dauntless hung in space like a wounded predator, its hull bearing the scars of its recent encounter. Emergency repair drones swarmed across its surface, their welding arcs creating brief constellations against the darkness. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display, studying the tactical readout of their battle with the Voidborn vessel. "Play it again," she ordered, and the scene reconstructed itself in miniature before her. The massive alien ship's emergence, their initial exchange of fire, and the moment when the Dauntless's Chaos Drive had turned the tide. But it was what happened next that kept drawing her attention. "Stop there." She pointed to the moment when the Voidborn vessel had suddenly retreated, folding back into whatever dimensional pocket it had emerged from. "Why did they run?" Dr. Reynolds stepped forward, his normally precise movements now hesitant. "Commander, I've completed my analysis of the battle data. The Voidborn ship, it wasn't retreating. It was calling for reinforcements." The words hung heavy in the air. Sarah felt the weight of them settle onto her shoulders like a physical burden. "How long?" "Based on the energy signatures we detected, 12 hours, maybe less." Sarah nodded, her mind already racing through scenarios. The Dauntless was damaged but operational. Their Chaos Drive was still functional, though the quantum fluctuations it generated had taken a toll on the ship's systems. More importantly, they were the only human warship within range to warn the nearby colonies. "Send the alert to Fleet Command," she ordered. "But we both know help won't arrive in time." "Lieutenant Rivera," What's our weapons status? The tactical officer's fingers danced across her console. Main railgun arrays at 80% capacity. Missile tubes 1 through 12 operational, 13 through 20 requiring repairs. Point defense grid at 65%. But Commander, she hesitated, if their reinforcements are anything like that first ship, we're severely outgunned. When have humans ever let being outgunned stop us? Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Begin manufacturing more ammunition. I want every fabricator running at maximum capacity. Dr. Reynolds, what have you learned about their technology? The scientist pulled up his findings on the main display. Their tech is beyond advanced. It's almost organic in nature. Their ships appear to be grown, rather than built, incorporating biological components into their structure. But this is what's fascinating. He highlighted a section of data. They rely heavily on quantum predictive algorithms. Their entire combat strategy is based on calculating the mathematically optimal response to any situation. Which is exactly why our chaos drive threw them off. Sarah finished. They couldn't predict what we'd do because we were deliberately introducing randomness into the equation. Precisely. But there's more. The energy weapons they used. They're not just breaking through our shields, they're trying to interface with our systems. I think they're attempting to assimilate our technology. The implications were chilling. The Voidborn weren't just conquerors. They were parasites, absorbing the technological and biological distinctiveness of other species. No wonder ancient civilizations had feared them. Before Sarah could respond, the ship's AI chimed in. Commander, incoming transmission. Unknown origin, but the signal structure matches Voidborn patterns. Put it through. The holographic display shifted, revealing a figure that made several bridge crew members step back involuntarily. The Voidborn representative was a nightmare fusion of organic and mechanical components, its form constantly shifting and flowing like liquid metal. When it spoke, its voice resonated on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Human vessel. The translation matrix struggled to convert the complex harmonics. You have demonstrated unexpected capabilities. Submit to assimilation, and your unique attributes will be preserved within our collective. Sarah's response was immediate. This is Commander Chen of the HSS Dauntless. We don't submit to threats, and we don't surrender our ships. But we're willing to talk if you're interested in peaceful coexistence. The Voidborn's form rippled with what might have been amusement. Peace is inefficient. Evolution requires conflict. Resistance will only increase the resources expended in your inevitable assimilation. You're not the first to underestimate humanity. Sarah's voice was steel. You won't be the last. The transmission cut off abruptly. Moments later, space began to distort as multiple fold points opened around the Dauntless. This time, 3 Voidborn vessels emerged, their liquid metal hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. Battle stations. Sarah's command was calm, deliberate. But this time, we're doing things differently. Dr. Reynolds, remember that theory you had about using the chaos drive to affect local space-time? The scientist's eyes widened. Commander, that was purely theoretical. The calculations alone would take hours, and if we're off by even a fraction, we don't have hours. We have minutes. Get to work. As the crew rushed to their stations, Sarah opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the commander. In about 10 minutes, we're either going to make history or become it. The Voidborn think they can predict us, control us, assimilate us. They're about to learn why human warships are the most feared in the galaxy. Not because of our technology, but because of our creativity, our determination, and our absolute refusal to follow anyone else's rules of engagement. The Voidborn ships moved into attack formation, their movements precise and coordinated. They were clearly expecting the Dauntless to either flee or attempt another direct confrontation. Instead, Sarah had her helm officer position them near a particular point in space, a location Dr. Reynolds had identified as having unusual quantum properties. Commander, Reynolds called out, his voice tense, the calculations are as ready as they'll ever be. But this is completely untested. We could tear a hole in space-time itself. Better that than becoming part of their collective, Sarah replied. Transfer the calculations to the chaos drive control systems. All hands, brace for extreme spatial distortion. The Voidborn opened fire, their energy weapons cutting through space toward the Dauntless. But instead of evading, the human ship's chaos drive spun up to maximum power, deliberately introducing quantum instabilities into the local space-time fabric. The result was spectacular and terrifying. Reality itself seemed to hiccup. The energy beams from the Voidborn ships bent impossibly, creating loops and knots in space before turning back on their sources. One of the alien vessels was hit by its own weapon, its liquid metal hull rippling in distress as the energy began to feed back through its systems. "It's working," Reynolds shouted, his scientific detachment forgotten in the excitement. "The chaos drive is creating a cascade of quantum uncertainties. Their predictive systems can't compensate." The Voidborn ships tried to adjust, but their reliance on mathematical precision became their undoing. In the quantum chaos created by the Dauntless, their sophisticated calculations were worse than useless. They were actively harmful. One ship's attempt to compensate caused it to phase partially out of normal space, its hull stretching and distorting before it imploded. The remaining vessels attempted to retreat, but the spatial distortions had grown beyond anyone's control. The fabric of space-time around the Dauntless had become a maelstrom of quantum possibilities, affecting everything within range. "Hull integrity failing," Rivera reported. "We can't maintain this for much longer." "We don't need to," Sarah replied, watching as the last Voidborn ship twisted impossibly before disappearing into a self-created fold in space. "Shut down the chaos drive." Let's hope they got the message. As the quantum distortions faded and normal space reasserted itself, the bridge crew stared in amazement at their sensors. Where 3 Voidborn vessels had been, there was now only debris and rapidly dissipating energy signatures. The impossible gambit had worked. "Send a message to Fleet Command," Sarah ordered, allowing herself to relax slightly. Tell them the galaxy just got a lot more interesting." The battle was over, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The Voidborn would return, likely with countermeasures against their chaos drive tactics. But humanity would be ready. They would adapt, improvise, and overcome, just as they always had. Because that was the real reason human warships were feared across the galaxy, not their weapons or technology, but their absolute refusal to accept defeat, their willingness to try the impossible, and their ability to turn their very unpredictability into a weapon. The Alliance forms. News traveled fast in the galaxy, even faster when it involved the impossible. The Dauntless's victory over the Voidborn spread through subspace channels like wildfire, each retelling more elaborate than the last. But the core truth remained the same. A single human warship had done what entire alien battle fleets had failed to do: defeat multiple Voidborn vessels in direct combat. The Galactic Council chamber on Station Nexus was packed with representatives from 24 space-faring civilizations. The Artheans, with their crystalline bodies and centuries of technological advancement, sat alongside the ethereal Mindweavers and the cybernetically enhanced technocracy. At the center of attention stood Commander Sarah Chen, still wearing her slightly battle-damaged uniform. Preposterous. The Arthean elder's crystalline form vibrated with dismissal. "You expect us to believe that a primitive chaos-based technology defeated Voidborn quantum systems. Their computational capacity alone surpasses your entire species' combined processing power." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "With respect, Elder, that's exactly why we won. You're all thinking like machines, trying to outcompute the Voidborn. We decided to change the rules entirely." The Mindweaver representative, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental field, pulsed with curiosity. "Explain this chaos drive technology. How does deliberately introducing uncertainty provide tactical advantage?" Before Sarah could respond, the massive doors to the council chamber burst open. A sentinel, one of the galaxy's automated peacekeepers, entered with urgent news. Multiple void-born signatures detected in the Carina sector. 3 colony worlds already gone dark. The chamber erupted in panic. The Carina sector was home to some of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. If the void-born had penetrated that deep into settled space, how many ships do we have in range? The technocracy representatives' cybernetic eyes wared as they access tactical databases. Insufficient forces to mount effective defense. The Sentinel responded. Closest battle fleet is 3 days from optimal intercept. Sarah stepped forward. The Dauntless can be there in 16 hours. 1 ship, the Arthean Elder scoffed. Against a void-born invasion fleet, 1 ship that's already proven it can hurt them. Sarah countered. But we'll be more effective with allies. Anyone willing to throw out their conventional tactical doctrine and try something new? The chamber fell silent. Centuries of established military protocol warred against desperate necessity. Finally, the Mindweaver representative floated forward. The Concordat stands with humanity. Our ships are yours to command, Commander Chen. The technocracy representative's cybernetic implants pulsed. Your chaos theory conflicts with our base programming. But adaptation is logical. We will assist. One by one, representatives stepped forward. Not all. Some species were too set in their ways, too convinced of their technological superiority to embrace human unpredictability. But enough. Enough to make a difference. Sarah wasted no time. Within hours, a makeshift fleet assembled near the Dauntless. It was an odd collection. Sleek Mindweaver energy vessels, blocky technocracy warships, and several independent vessels from smaller species. None of them were designed to work together, but that was about to become their greatest strength. This is Commander Chen to all ships. Sarah's voice carried across the fleet's shared frequency. I know we've all fought our own battles, developed our own tactics. Today, we throw the rulebook out. The Voidborn expect us to behave according to established patterns. We're going to show them why that's a mistake. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, the Dauntless's chaos drive creating unusual ripples in the fabric of reality. The Mindweaver ships adapted their energy matrices to ride these distortions, while the technocracy vessels recalibrated their quantum sensors to operate in the chaotic environment. They emerged in the Carina sector to find devastation. The Voidborn fleet, larger than anything they'd encountered before, was systematically breaking down an ancient ringworld, absorbing its technology and materials into their own ships. By the first light, the Mindweaver captain's voice was heavy with horror. They're not just destroying it, they're consuming it. Not for long, Sarah replied. All ships implement battle plan chaos. And remember, don't think like machines, think like humans. What followed would be studied in war colleges across the galaxy for centuries to come. The Dauntless's chaos drive created zones of quantum uncertainty throughout the battlefield. Mindweaver ships used these distortions to phase in and out of normal space, appearing at impossible angles to launch energy attacks. Technocracy vessels, their AIs temporarily rewired to embrace randomness, performed maneuvers that defied their own programming. The Voidborn responded with overwhelming force, their quantum weapons cutting through space with devastating precision. But precision was no longer an advantage. In the chaos-saturated battlefield, their mathematically perfect attacks often missed entirely or struck their own ships. They're adapting, the Technocracy flagship reported, detecting changes in their quantum signature patterns. Good, Sarah replied, surprising her allies. Let them adapt. That's what we wanted. As the Voidborn ships began to alter their tactics, Sarah revealed the true nature of her strategy. The chaos wasn't meant to defeat them. It was meant to force them to change. All ships execute Phase 2. The Allied fleet suddenly shifted to completely conventional tactics, their movements becoming predictable and coordinated. The Voidborn, their systems now calibrated for chaos, found themselves unable to effectively target these simple patterns. It was like a master martial artist, prepared for an advanced technique, being caught off guard by a simple punch. Impossible, the Arthean observer in the council chamber whispered, watching the battle through quantum feeds. They're using predictability as a weapon. The Voidborn fleet, caught between adapting to chaos and responding to conventional attacks, began to fall into disarray. Ships collided as their quantum predictive systems gave conflicting solutions. Others found their organic components rebelling against the constant tactical shifts. All ships, concentrate fire on their flagship, Sarah ordered. Let's show them why diversity is strength. The combined firepower of a dozen different species, each using their own unique weapons technology, struck the massive Voidborn vessel. Energy beams from Mistweaver ships created openings in its adaptive shields. Technocracy quantum torpedoes exploited these gaps. The Dauntless's railguns delivered the killing blow, their simple kinetic energy proving devastating against the confused organic-mechanical hybrid. As their flagship died, the remaining Voidborn vessels retreated, folding space around themselves and vanishing. The ancient ringworld was saved, though scared. More importantly, the galaxy had witnessed something unprecedented. Multiple species working together, combining order and chaos, technology and intuition, to achieve victory. In the aftermath, as repair drones swarmed across damaged ships and medical teams treated the wounded of a dozen species, Sarah received a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. Commander Chen, the Mistweaver Elder's voice was filled with newfound respect. We were wrong about humanity. Your species' greatest strength isn't your technology or your unpredictability. It's your ability to unite others, to show us that our differences can become advantages. The Council has voted. We would like to formally propose an alliance, with humanity taking the lead in military matters. Sarah looked around at her bridge crew, then at the mixed fleet of allies on her tactical display. Tell the Council we accept, but on one condition. We do this together, as equals. Because that's the real reason human warships are feared across the galaxy. Not because of what we can do alone, but because of what we inspire others to do alongside us. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The Voidborn would return, stronger and more numerous. But they would find a galaxy united, ready to face them with a combination of advanced technology and human ingenuity. The age of standing alone was over. The age of chaos and order, working in harmony, had begun. The Battle of the Celestial Divide. The Celestial Divide was nature's own fortress, a massive dust cloud stretching across 3 parsecs, filled with gravitational eddies and radiation storms that made conventional navigation nearly impossible. It was here that the Allied fleet made their stand, using the very chaos of space itself as a weapon. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the Dauntless's bridge, now expanded to accommodate liaison officers from a dozen species. The ship itself had been modified, incorporating technology from their allies while maintaining its distinctly human unpredictability. The Chaos Drive had been enhanced by Mistweaver quantum harmonics, while Technocracy targeting systems added precision to their railguns. Voidborn fleet approaching, announced Kittle, the Mistweaver tactical officer. Their energy form pulsed with anticipation. Numbers exceed previous encounters by factor of 10. They're learning, Sarah observed, studying the tactical display. Notice how their formation is looser. They're trying to minimize the effectiveness of our chaos fields. The Voidborn fleet emerged from fold space like a metallic tide. Hundreds of ships, from nimble hunters to massive dreadnoughts. Their hybrid organic-mechanical hulls rippled with adaptations clearly designed to counter the Allies' previous tactics. They've upgraded their quantum predictive systems, reported Interface, the Technocracy representative. Their cybernetic eyes whirred as they analyzed the data, detecting multiple redundant calculation matrices. Our previous strategy of overwhelming their prediction algorithms may prove ineffective. Sarah smiled. Good thing we're not using our previous strategy. All ships, execute Operation Thunderbolt. The Allied fleet split into seemingly random groups, each taking position near one of the Divide's many natural phenomena. The Voidborn advanced cautiously, their superior numbers giving them confidence but not recklessness. "They're trying to predict our pattern," Catal observed. "Their quantum systems are mapping our movements against known tactical doctrines." "Let them try," Sarah replied. "Signal the Mindweaver ships, begin the symphony." The Mindweaver vessels, positioned near powerful radiation sources within the Divide, began to pulse with energy. Their natural ability to manipulate quantum fields, combined with human chaos drive technology, created a cascading effect through the dust cloud. Solar winds and radiation storms began to move in impossible patterns. The Voidborn fleet's first wave hit this wall of chaos and fractured. Ships designed to calculate perfect trajectories found themselves buffeted by forces that defied mathematical prediction. But they adapted quickly, their organic components evolving in real time to compensate. "Now," Sarah ordered, "show them why you don't bring just one trick to a fight." The technocracy vessels, hidden within the dust clouds, launched their attack. Instead of their usual precise energy weapons, they fired salvos of modified human missiles. Each warhead contained a miniaturized chaos drive, turning simple ballistic weapons into engines of quantum uncertainty. "Arthean crystalline ships, begin your run," Sarah commanded. "Let's add some sparkle to this light show." The crystalline ships of the Arthean fleet, their hulls refracting the light of nearby stars, emerged from their hiding spots. They had been skeptical of human tactics at first, but now they embraced the controlled chaos. Their crystalline structures began to resonate at frequencies that interfered with the Voidborn's organic components. The battle transformed into something beyond traditional space combat. It was a symphony of chaos and order, with each species playing its part. Mindweaver energy beams rode the quantum distortions created by human chaos drives. Technocracy missiles followed paths that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Arthean crystals amplified and reflected energy attacks back at their sources. But the Voidborn were ancient for a reason. Their massive flagship, a behemoth that dwarfed even the largest Allied vessels, began to emit a dampening field that started to normalize space around it. "They're trying to impose order on chaos," Interface warned. "Their field is spreading. We're losing our tactical advantage." Sarah had expected this. "All ships, fall back to secondary positions. Dauntless, prepare for direct engagement." "Commander," Catal's energy form flickered with concern. "The flagship's energy signature exceeds our combined output by several orders of magnitude. Direct confrontation is suicide." Sarah finished. "Only if you think like a machine. Signal the mining ships." Hidden throughout the Divide were dozens of civilian mining vessels, their presence masked by the natural interference. At Sarah's signal, they activated their industrial-grade tractor beams, not against the Voidborn ships, but against the dust cloud itself. Massive streams of space dust, energized by radiation and charged by solar winds, began to move. The Voidborn predictive systems, focused on military threats, didn't register the danger until it was too late. Their dampening field, designed to counter energy weapons and quantum effects, had no defense against simple physics. The dust streams collided with their ships at relativistic speeds, turning common space debris into devastating weapons. Voidborn vessels built to shrug off energy weapons found their organic hulls abraded and torn by millions of high-velocity impacts. "Their shields are adapting," Interface reported. "Calculating new." "Stop calculating," Sarah interrupted. "Feel the flow of battle. Where are they not looking?" The cybernetic officer paused, their programming battling against this illogical approach. Then, slowly, they nodded. "They're focused on the dust streams. Their ventral shields are at minimum power." "Exactly. All ships, attack pattern Delta 7. Hit them where they think they're strongest, then strike where they know they're weak." The Allied fleet moved as one, their seemingly chaotic movements forming a pattern too organic for machines to predict. Ships darted through the streams of energized dust, using them as cover. The Voidborn, their predictive systems overwhelmed by the number of variables, couldn't adapt fast enough. The Dauntless led the charge, its chaos drive creating a wake of quantum uncertainty that Allied ships rode like surfers on a wave. They struck from multiple vectors simultaneously, their weapons enhanced by the natural phenomena of the divide. The Voidborn flagship, target of their combined assault, began to show signs of distress. Its organic components, confused by the quantum chaos and damaged by the dust streams, started to fight against its mechanical systems. "They're pulling back," Catal announced. "Their fleet cohesion is breaking down." "Press the advantage," Sarah ordered. "All ships, execute final phase. Show them why the galaxy fears us when we work together." The Allied fleet's formation shifted one last time, but now there was no attempt at subterfuge. Every ship, from every species, combined their fire on the Voidborn flagship. Human railguns created gaps in its shields that Mindweaver energy beams exploited. Technocracy quantum torpedoes phased through its hull, detonating inside vital systems. Arthene crystalline beams refracted and multiplied the damage. The massive vessel, pride of the Voidborn fleet, began to break apart. But even in its death throes, it demonstrated why its species had dominated the galaxy eons ago. Its organic components began to separate from its mechanical systems, each piece trying to evolve and adapt independently. "It's trying to spawn," Interface warned. "If even one piece survives." "Not today." Sarah's voice was firm. "Activate the quantum resonators." Throughout the battle, Allied ships had been seeding the area with devices that combined Mindweaver quantum technology with human chaos theory. At Sarah's command, they activated simultaneously. The space around the dying flagship became a maelstrom of competing quantum states, preventing the organic components from stabilizing long enough to evolve. The Voidborn flagship died not with an explosion, but with an implosion. Its matter collapsed into quantum uncertainty. The rest of their fleet, witnessing the destruction of their greatest vessel, began to retreat. Space folded around them as they fled, leaving behind a battlefield that defied conventional physics. As the dust settled and Allied ships began damage assessment, Sarah received communications from across the fleet. Each species had learned something from this battle. The Mindweavers about controlled chaos, the Technocracy about intuition, the Artheans about adaptation. "Commander," Interface spoke, their cybernetic voice carrying an unusual note of emotion. "I believe I understand now. The galaxy fears human warships not because of their technology or tactics, but because they remind us of what we can become when we stop limiting ourselves to what we think is possible." Sarah nodded, watching as repair crews from different species worked together to heal their damaged ships. "That's the real power of humanity. We don't just break the rules. We inspire others to imagine new ones." The Battle of the Celestial Divide would be remembered not just as a military victory, but as the moment when the galaxy's civilizations truly began to work together. The Voidborn had retreated, but everyone knew they would return. When they did, they would face not just human unpredictability, but a galaxy that had learned to embrace both chaos and order, intuition and logic, tradition and innovation. As the Allied fleet regrouped, preparing for the inevitable next encounter, Sarah knew that the greatest battles and victories still lay ahead. But for now, they had proved something unprecedented. That the most fearsome force in the galaxy wasn't technology or numbers, but the power of diverse species united in common cause, led by those crazy enough to believe that the impossible was just another problem to solve. Guardians of the Galaxy. The galactic core blazed before them, billions of stars creating a tapestry of light that would have blinded unprotected eyes. The combined fleet of the Allied species had assembled here, in the heart of the galaxy, for what they knew would be their final confrontation with the Voidborn. Intelligence gathered from across the galaxy confirmed what they had feared. The ancient enemy was preparing for a full-scale invasion. The HSS Dauntless, now bearing the scars and modifications of countless battles, held position at the center of the fleet. Commander Sarah Chen stood on her expanded bridge, surrounded by representatives from every allied species. The ship had become a symbol of unity, just as its commander had become a legend. Latest quantum scans confirm it. Interface reported, their cybernetic systems interfacing directly with the fleet's sensor network. The Voidborn are gathering their forces in the dimensional pocket beyond the core. Estimated numbers, unprecedented. How many? Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. All of them. Hital's energy form pulsed with concern. They're committing their entire species to this attack. Our calculations suggest they've abandoned their backup territories. This is an all-or-nothing gambit. Sarah nodded, understanding the implications. The Voidborn had realized that their traditional strategy of slow assimilation wouldn't work against a united galaxy. They were adapting, just as they always did. But this time, they were adapting to become more like their enemies, taking a bold, almost human-like risk. Status of Operation Starkler, she asked, turning to the Arthean representative. The crystalline being's facets shifted, reflecting the light of the core. The quantum resonators are in position throughout the galactic core. But, Commander, the risks of this strategy are less than the risk of letting the Voidborn take the galaxy. Sarah finished. We've run the simulations. We've prepared as much as we can. Now we just need to get them to commit to the trap. The plan was audacious, combining the scientific knowledge of a dozen species with humanity's penchant for the impossible. They had seeded the galactic core with millions of quantum resonators, each one combining Mindweaver energy manipulation, Arthean crystal technology, and human chaos theory. But they needed the Voidborn to fully emerge from their dimensional pocket for the trap to work. Multiple fold space ruptures detected, Interface announced. They're coming. The void between stars began to tear open, reality itself parting like a curtain as the Voidborn fleet emerged. It was a sight that would haunt dreams for generations. Thousands upon thousands of ships, from nimble hunters to massive world ships that dwarfed anything the Allies had ever built. Their organic mechanical hulls writhed with new adaptations, showing that they had learned from every previous encounter. By the first light, Hital whispered, their energy form dimming slightly. Their numbers don't matter, Sarah interrupted firmly. Numbers didn't save them at the Celestial Divide. Technology didn't save them in the Carina sector. And they won't save them here. All ships, Battle Formation Omega. The Allied fleet moved with practiced precision, each species taking their assigned positions. The Mindweaver ships formed an energy matrix, their quantum fields interconnecting. Technocracy vessels linked their targeting systems, while Arthean ships aligned their crystalline resonance frequencies. At the center, human ships powered up their chaos drives, ready to introduce uncertainty into the carefully laid plan. The Voidborn struck first, their weapons technology having evolved far beyond their previous capabilities. Beams of energy that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously lashed out, bypassing conventional shields. Organic tendrils extended across space itself, trying to ensnare Allied ships. They've adapted to everything we've thrown at them, Interface observed, their cybernetic voice tight with concern. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Everything except what we haven't thrown at them yet. All ships. Execute Operation Starkler. Show them why you don't challenge a united galaxy. The battle that followed would be spoken of for millennia to come. The Allied fleet fought not as individual species, but as a single organism, each race contributing their unique strengths to a greater whole. Human chaos drives created zones of quantum uncertainty that Mindweaver ships shaped into weapons. Technocracy vessels calculated firing solutions that should have been impossible, their AIs embracing human intuition. But the Voidborn were relentless. For every ship they lost, 2 more emerged from fold space. Their adaptive technology absorbed and countered each new tactic the Allies employed. Slowly but surely, they began to push toward the galactic core. They're taking the bait, Sarah observed. But we're losing too many ships. We need to sell this harder. Dauntless, Prepare for direct engagement with their command ship. Commander, Catal protested. Their flagship's energy signature is off the charts, even with our combined modifications. Trust me, Sarah said softly. Sometimes you have to risk everything to save everything. The Dauntless broke formation, its engines flaring as it charged toward the massive Voidborn command ship. The enemy vessel was a technological marvel, its hull constantly shifting and evolving, organic components meshing seamlessly with mechanical systems. It represented the peak of Voidborn evolution, the perfect fusion of biology and machine. All power to the Chaos Drive, Sarah ordered. Prepare for total quantum dissolution. Her crew, both human and alien, moved with perfect coordination. The Chaos Drive spun up beyond safe limits, its quantum fluctuations beginning to tear at the fabric of reality itself. The Voidborn flagship, sensing the threat, turned its full attention to the Dauntless. They're pursuing, Interface reported. The rest of their fleet is following. They're fully committing to the core. Now, Sarah's command cut through the chaos of battle. Activate the resonators. Throughout the galactic core, millions of quantum devices activated simultaneously. Each one had been precisely positioned, their effects calculated by the combined scientific knowledge of every allied species. The Mindweaver energy matrix expanded, connecting them all into a single network. Arthene crystals amplified their effect exponentially. Space itself began to change. The quantum uncertainty generated by the chaos drives combined with the natural energy of the galactic core, creating a cascade effect that the Voidborn's adaptive technology couldn't counter. Their organic components began to devolve, while their mechanical systems failed to maintain quantum coherence. It's working, Catal announced, their energy form brightening with hope. Their ships are losing structural integrity. But the Voidborn had one final adaptation. Their flagship, realizing the threat, began to transform. Its entire structure collapsed inward, trying to create a dimensional fold that would allow their species to escape once again, to hide and rebuild as they had done eons ago. Not this time, Sarah said quietly. All ships, execute final phase. Show them why the galaxy fears us when we stand together. Every allied ship activated their specially modified weapons simultaneously. Human railguns fired projectiles that existed in quantum superposition. Mindweaver energy beams phased between dimensions. Technocracy quantum torpedoes detonated in multiple realities at once. Arthene crystalline beams refracted through spacetime itself. The combined attack struck the Voidborn flagship just as it attempted to create its dimensional pocket. The result was catastrophic, but controlled. The massive ship imploded, its attempted escape creating a quantum singularity that began to draw in the rest of the Voidborn fleet. All ships, fall back to safe distance, Sarah ordered. Let them experience the chaos they try to control. The Allied fleet retreated to the edge of the core as the Voidborn ships were pulled into the singularity. Their adaptive technology, their biological evolution, their perfect fusion of organic and mechanical, none of it could save them from the fundamental forces they had sought to master. When it was over, when the last Voidborn ship had vanished into the quantum maelstrom they had created, Sarah looked around her bridge. Humans stood alongside energy beings, crystalline entities, and cybernetic life forms, each different, each unique, but all united. Send word to the Galactic Council, she said. Tell them that the galaxy is safe, not because of superior technology or better weapons, but because we finally learned to stand together. Because we discovered that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. Interface's cybernetic eyes wavered as they processed the victory. The galaxy will remember this day. They will remember why human warships were feared, not for their destructive power, but for their ability to unite others, to inspire them to achieve the impossible. No, Sarah corrected gently. They'll remember why the combined fleet was feared. We're not separate species anymore. We're one galaxy, one people, facing the future together. As the fleet began their journey home, Sarah knew that this victory marked not an ending, but a beginning. The galaxy had changed. Species that had once viewed each other with suspicion now worked together seamlessly. Technology that had once been jealously guarded was now freely shared. And at the heart of it all was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, not their chaos drives or their unpredictability, but their unshakable belief that together anything was possible. The stars seemed brighter somehow as they departed the core, as if the galaxy itself was celebrating. Human warships would indeed continue to be feared across space, but now they were feared by those who would threaten peace and unity, and respected by allies who had learned that the greatest strength comes not from standing alone, but from standing together. The age of division was over. The age of unity had begun, and it had started with a single human warship that dared to challenge the impossible.